think of a technical difficulty to have, and I've had it.
This video took way too long to film.
And I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry right now.
Hi, I'm Courtney and welcome to the Food Court, where I try out diet recipes so you don't have to. I'm going to be making lemon bars today, but instead of taking two recipes that claim to be the same thing and then putting them side by side, I'm going to take one recipe and use low-carb substitutions in one version of it. This was the first time I had ever baked with a sugar alcohol, so I wasn't quite sure how it was going to turn out, and I got about the result I expected. Still tasty though. As always, I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not here to tell you how to eat or how to live. I'm just here to have some fun. So let's get started. Okay, the right side of your screen is the recipe as written, and the left side is with our low-carb substitutes. It begins with 3 eggs that we're gonna mix together with our sugar. It's 1 cup of sugar, or I used 1 cup of a monk fruit sugar alcohol for the substitute. We're gonna mix that together until it's smooth. Now we'll add the juice and zest of 2 lemons. I used 1 Meyer lemon and 1 ordinary lemon in both recipes, just to get a little bit of a different flavor for myself, but you can use whatever lemons you have. Once it's all stirred together, we'll move it to the stove over medium heat and stir it often. This is gonna take a few minutes to get to the right consistency. It's gonna thicken to about the jiggle of a loose pudding. Off the heat, but while it's still warm, we're gonna add 8 tablespoons of butter, cubed and chilled. Toss them in a few cubes at a time and mix them together. This is the one place where I used a substitute in both versions of the recipe. I used a plant butter instead of a dairy butter because my mom is dairy free. And this plant butter is one that I've used lots of times. It's nutritionally almost identical to dairy butter. And in terms of recipes, the only difference is that it's slightly softer in texture. It doesn't affect how it incorporates when baking. It just means that I don't have to wait for it to soften quite as long. But it's not really fair to expect a substitute to be a 1-to-1 perfect replacement every time. Even now we can see that the color and the texture of the lemon curd made with the sugar alcohol is slightly different than that of the real sugar. And that's down to their completely different chemical compositions. You can't expect them to be a perfect replacement every time, but they can be a good replacement. Once we've got all that butter incorporated, we'll move it to a glass bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and chill it for 2 hours or until set. After about an hour and a half, we can get started on our crust. I used half coconut flour and half almond flour, and then powdered swerve and the monk fruit sugar alcohol in place of all of my sugar and flour, and I used that same plant butter substitute for both recipes. I'm just gonna beat that with a hand mixer until it's a nice soft crumbly texture. When I started out moving the crust to a parchment lined tin, I tried to use a rubber spatula to press it into place, and I quickly realized that my hands were the better tool for the job. Once we've got that in a nice even layer, we'll put it in the oven at 325 for 30 minutes, and then we'll add the lemon curd back. When we add our set lemon curd, we want to get it into a really nice even layer. And this is the point when I knew I was going to have 2 completely different products. Reminder that the only difference between those 2 curds is the sweetener used. But I'm going to withhold judgment on what kind of lemon bar they turn out to be until I get the chance to taste them. We're going to put them in the oven again for about 10 to 15 minutes, or until the center is just kind of jiggly. and then let them cool completely before we stick them in the fridge to chill. Now that we're so close to digging in, I want to take a moment to talk about the nutritional differences between these two bars. Calorically, they're really not that different. The cane sugar bars are only 50 calories more per serving, but they have 24 grams of net carbs, and the substitute bars only have 2 grams of net carbs. The body doesn't really absorb sugar alcohols, but that sugar alcohol is also the culprit behind our textural differences. You can see how nice and rich the cane sugar curd looks compared to how flaky the substitute turned out.
Okay, the beige one is our substitute bar and the golden one is our original bar. And the beige one's not bad. Actually, the longer I let it sit in my fridge, the more it tastes like lemon. The texture is completely different between the two curds, and the only difference there was the sweetener. The original bar has that nice, soft, silky lemon curd that you expect. And I don't really know that I can call it a curd on the other bar. It's flaky and kind of crunchy. It still tastes good. All in all, I would say that the sugar alcohol bar is a perfectly good cookie bar. It's just not as lemony. At 2 grams of net carbs, I could eat these all day. So I'm not mad about any of these results. And you know, the substitute bar has 18 grams of fat to that 2 net carbs. It's a really, really good snack for me to have. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can find more low carb content on my channel. Till next time.
We have a visitor. We have a visitor, hold on. Come here. So the most important part of any project in this kitchen is kicking this guy out. Yeah, that was key. He's our 20-pound Norwegian forest cat, and if he sees us standing at this counter for too long, he assumes that we're preparing him a snack because he's spoiled.